How's it going, everyone? And welcome to PFP Media. My God, what an absolutely crazy morning of football news we've had so far. Obviously, kicked off last night with reports coming out about the European Super League, and I mean, this is something that I reported on, spoke about for this channel back in late October, although then it was being called the European Premier League, and Spurs weren't being mentioned in these discussions. It was just the other five of the Premier League's big six. And clubs in France and Germany, obviously the likes of Bayern Munich, Borussia Dortmund, and Paris Saint-Germain were being mentioned in this as well. However, this time round, obviously the 12 clubs who have been mentioned as being, firm founding members are the Premier League's big six. The three biggest clubs in Italy, Juventus, AC Milan, and Inter Milan, and the three biggest clubs in Spain, Barcelona, Real Madrid, and Atletico Madrid. I mean, the react everyone has seen the reaction. First of all, I'll give my own reaction, and then we can go through some of the news reports and see what some of the most influential football reporters have been saying on social media. My reaction is the same as it was in October. I'm completely against any sort of competition that is not competitive, you do not have to qualify for, and that you cannot be relegated from. This is just so against what not only English football, you think of the FA Cup, the English football pyramid. One of the reasons I love the FA Cup, apart from the fact that Arsenal have won it the most, is that anyone can win it. You could literally be a small club competing in the ninth or 10th tier of English football, and you could qualify for the FA Cup, and you could it's very unlikely, but you could go on to win it. Similarly, you could be promoted to the Premier League. We've seen some really, like Bradford City come up through the leagues over the years. For example, I mean, Leicester City more recently getting promoted from League One to the Championship and then to the Premier League, and becoming Premier League winners. The same goes in the Champions League. Porto won the Champions League in 2004. Jose Mourinho's greatest achievement, I would say, as manager. And that's, this is the sort of thing that's not going to be possible anymore. If this goes ahead, you're going to have these 12 founding members. There are going to be other teams invited to it. This has been reported. And there's no threat of relegation. So unless if you've lost your first few games, you're not playing for anything. You're just there to make up the numbers. That's exactly, sadly, what my club Arsenal would be. That's what Spurs would be. Currently, that's what AC Milan would be. I don't think Inter Milan and Juventus, they don't seem particular. Serie A is not as great as right now. That's basically what I'm saying. But perhaps what's worst about this is that the teams who have been invited to participate. And I mean, this is just case in point. It's all about money. It's all about money, because Arsenal, Tottenham, Manchester City, and Atletico Madrid have never won the European Cup. Arsenal haven't even competed in the Champions League since 2016. Arsenal have won 4 FA Cups since 2004. Obviously, some Community Shields as well, but that doesn't really count as a major trophy. 4 FA Cups since 2004 in the last 17 years. Spurs have won 1 League Cup since 1991 and 2 league titles in their history. They are not a big club. Manchester City weren't even playing Premier League football at the turn of the millennium. They were in the Championship. Chelsea had won 1 league title until Roman Abramovich took over. Clubs with great history like Benfica, like Celtic, like Borussia Dortmund, Marseille are being excluded from these discussions. It's pure elitism. I mean, the reason that the German clubs are not getting involved is that German clubs, RB Leipzig aside, are majority fan-owned clubs, and clearly the outcries of this proposal has been mainly from fans. Obviously, lots of people in the media, but they would be, fans of football as well. And this has been developed largely by Florentino Perez is obviously Spanish, and he's heavily involved in these discussions. He's apparently going to be the chairman of this proposed European Super League. But in terms of the Premier League clubs, you have KSE owned by Stan Kroenke, who owns Arsenal. He's an American owner. FSG, Liverpool's owners, John W. Henry, American owner. The Glazer family, Manchester United, American owners. Manchester City, owned by the Abu Dhabi Group, foreign owners. Chelsea, owned by Roman Abramovich, foreign owners. It's only Spurs, owned by Joe Lewis, who are owned by British owners. And this, for me, it kind of sums up what football is about now and what sport is about now. And it's just money. It's the Americanization of football. In the United States, not just in the MLS, but in the MLS, there's no relegation. It's a closed league, 2 different conferences, one on the West Coast and one on the East Coast. You can't get relegated. It's the same in the NBA. It's the same in the NFL. I don't know enough about baseball, but I'm sure it's the same in Major League Baseball. It's not in the United States' sporting history to have relegation. They're not interested in it. In India, they set up the Indian Premier League in cricket years ago, and it's the very same. I'm a big cricket fan, but I draw the line at the IPL because it's not competitive. It's not like the county championship in England, where there are 2 divisions, you can go up and down. It's just absolutely nonsense. If you have a competition that you qualify by rights just because your club happens to be wealthy, well, for me, that goes against what sport is all about in the first place, and that's fair competition. It stinks of greed. It's coming along at a time where clubs down the football pyramid are genuinely threatened by their existence. We've seen Bury go out of existence. The same could happen to Bolton Wanderers. There are a plethora of clubs at the bottom tiers of not just the English Football League, across Europe, who are really struggling. And now the richest clubs, not the most successful clubs even, because I mean Tottenham are in it. It's insane. Not even the most successful clubs. It's the richest clubs in Europe, the most powerful clubs, because they have the most money, who are trying to establish this European Super League. It absolutely stinks of greed, and quite rightly, everyone, people have been unanimous in their outrage at this proposal, which is really, really, really great to see. And obviously, there are many hoops that have to be. It's going to be very difficult for this to go through, but they seem absolutely, those behind this idea seem absolutely intent on seeing it through. This is the most, I mentioned that in October we were talking about this. Going back to 2018, these reports have come out. Arsene Wenger in 2009 said that this sort of thing would probably be happening in the next 10 years. He did not say if he was in favor of it or against it. I can only assume he would be against it because he comes across as a true footballing man. But these discussions have clearly been ongoing for years. But this is the most prominent they've ever been. Arsenal put out a tweet this morning saying that they are one of the 12 founding members of the European Super League. Disgraceful. I mean, I suppose at the same time we have to talk about the hypocrisy of organizations like UEFA and FIFA. I mean, FIFA awarded the World Cup to Russia for 2018, and this is a nation state that went and annexed part of a neighboring country, the annexation of Crimea in 2014, I want to say, and there are no sporting ramifications because of this. FIFA, of course, awarded and obviously Russia have a very checkered human rights past. That's probably a polite way of putting it. They have some serious human rights issues in Russia. And need I even mention Qatar and the thousands of migrant workers who have lost their lives constructing the stadiums, and Qatar's abhorrent human rights record in terms of rights for women, rights for homosexuals, the freedom of expression, the freedom to practice religion, the freedom to be atheist. All of these, I mean, all of these pretty much across the board in Qatar are punishable by death. That's the sort of country that we're dealing with. That's the sort of country that FIFA has decided is worthy of holding the World Cup. So for organizations like FIFA and UEFA to be taking the moral high ground, I'd even put the Premier League in that, because the very reason the Premier League was founded was the Premier League was founded with Sky Sports at its helm to found a competition, in partnership with a specific TV broadcaster. Tells you everything you need to know. The Premier League has no right to be commenting on these matters and getting on its high horse. But at the same time, the Premier League you can qualify for. So when they did release their statement and mentioned fair competition, I think that they're well within their rights to say that. But anything else, talking about money and things like that, all of these organizations, talking about corruption, all of these organizations don't have a leg to stand on. It's really bad. And I mean, I want to try to play devil's advocate here a little bit. You've heard my opinion. I'm firmly against it. But if you're, let's take Arsenal for example, who haven't qualified for the Champions League since 2016, who have a huge budget, a self-inflicted huge budget. I mean, no one told Arsenal to give Aubameyang a new contract on over £300,000 a week. No one told Arsenal to sign Willian on a free transfer, paying a huge sign-on fee and paying him well over £200,000 a week, while making 55 staff. I can't believe my club. It is disgraceful. While making 55 staff redundant to get that deal across. So Arsenal have a huge wage bill. They haven't had Champions League football for 5 years. And if they see Manchester United and Liverpool having these discussions, and they hear that the likes of Chelsea and Manchester City and even Spurs are going to be involved in these conversations, from a financial point of view, obviously Arsenal feel that they are obliged to join these discussions. I think it's wrong. I think it's all wrong. But I think at the end of the day, you do have. Like I said, I'm playing devil's advocate here. It's not my opinion, but I can understand why clubs would do it, because it's realism. It's the same as in politics. If you're a rival, take the United States and China. If the United States have intelligence on China building new weapons or expanding their army in a specific way, the United States are going to do the same thing. It's realism, it's security, it's making sure that you have security for the future. I mean, the reaction on social media is huge. I mean, it's very much against it. I'm intrigued to hear managers speak about it. I know that Tuchel and Klopp are facing the press today. I'm really excited to hear from Klopp in particular, because previously he's been very very pro-fan. He really comes across as someone who is genuine and understands the history of football and the community aspect of football, and that's very important for a club like Liverpool. On Liverpool, this is a club that's about, Liverpool is a very working class city, and it has a huge connection with the two football clubs. And for the Liverpool, perhaps Manchester United and Arsenal stand out as the ones that I'm most disappointed with, certainly out of the English clubs. It's an absolute disgrace. Borussia Dortmund and Bayern Munich are both against this. Like I said, I think that German clubs, the way that they're structured in terms of fan ownership and fan shares, they'd be obliged to say this, whether they Whether if they weren't fan owned, majority fan owned, would they be saying this is another story. I'm not entirely sure. And Paris Saint-Germain as well haven't been. I don't think they've commented on it yet. I haven't seen anything. Look, those are my thoughts. I think it's an absolute disgrace that that it seems to be happening. That it's got so much legs behind it. That this really is moving in a direction to kick off this summer. And I mean, this is another thing. These are European clubs. More so, I mean, if these clubs they want to stay in their domestic leagues, but whether they'll be able to is another story. But you'd be surprised if these games were exclusively European. I mean, I think that it would be like preseason friendlies, the way that you have the biggest clubs in the world going to the Far East, going to play in China, going to play in Singapore, in Kuala Lumpur, in Malaysia, in India, places like this. And this is no disrespect to fans in these countries, and they have every right to watch their teams, and they can do so on preseason friendlies, and they can do so by coming to the countries that these clubs are based in to watch them, or by watching them on TV. But I would imagine that this European Super League, it would take place around the world. I mean, I'm 100% sure that that's what would happen. It wouldn't be like a typical home and away fixture. You would have these teams competing in the likes of China and the likes of Indonesia and the likes of Singapore, all of these places in the Far East, in the United States as well. I mean, this is what the NFL do. They come and they play in Wembley, and this goes back to my point. This is the Americanization of football, and it's an absolute disgrace, and it needs to be stopped by hook or by crook. It's really, 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 really bad. Um, I read something that those in charge of these discussions are calling kind of more old school fans or fans in their own countries legacy fans, and that they don't. This is not the fan they're trying to appeal to. They're trying to appeal to younger fans and fans in foreign countries. And I think that's my case in point about trying to appeal to the mass market in Asia and the United States. And it'd be very interesting to hear from fans in those countries and what they think of it. You'd have to think that even younger fans in Europe would be excited by this. Maybe they'd have parents or older siblings who would be very against it, and who would tell them this is really bad, a really bad idea. But if you had just an average standard kind of 7, 8 year old kid supporting any of these 12 teams involved in the discussions, you'd have to think that they'd be very excited about this. Just because they don't really understand the history of football and the community aspect of football. And I mean, this is coming from an Irish Arsenal fan living in Dublin, but I still feel a connection close enough to I still understand, I suppose, because I'm just like that, because I'm a little bit older than the fans I'm talking about now. The history and tradition of football and what football is actually all about, which is about fair competition, which is about the clubs being, like I mentioned Liverpool earlier, like being the cornerstone of the community. The same with a city like Newcastle. All of these, that's what football is all about. Other huge news this morning. I mean, this is just mad. The Tottenham Hotspur have sacked Jose Mourinho. We haven't heard why. It has been reported that they've been sacked by a number of different reputable media outlets. Why he was sacked, whether it was because of form. I mean, this is the week of the League Cup final. Tottenham have a chance to win their first trophy since 2008, and they've decided to part ways with Jose Mourinho. Whether this is to deflect from all of the news, the outrage associated with the European Super League news, we don't know. But Jose Mourinho's payoff will be in the region of £30 million, €35 million. So for a tight-fisted chairman like Daniel Levy to be willingly paid out that sort of money is a little bit surprising. I would really like to think that Jose Mourinho took a stand against this and left of his own accord. But you'd be a fool to pass up that amount of money. But he has enough money for several lifetimes. So You never know. But yeah, other huge news: Spurs have decided to sack Jose Mourinho. Um, and we're yet to find out why. Obviously, they haven't had a good season. It hasn't gone um, the way they wanted. That he was brought in to win trophies and to compete. And they obviously finished outside of the Champions League places last season. They're going to do so again this season. The football is turgid. He keeps throwing players under the bus. Um, he seems a fish out of water these days in terms of his man management skills. They're not what is required in the modern game. I think it's fair to say. I think that's evident from his time at Manchester United. It's evident from his last stint at Chelsea, and it's evident from his time at Spurs. Who Spurs bring in permanently? They've gone with Ryan Mason until the end of the season. Obviously, he's never managed a club before. He's just 29 years old. Obviously, his playing career was very sadly cut short because of I think it was a concussion. He could never fully recover from a head injury. That's a huge job for him, and his first task is setting Spurs up to win the League Cup against Manchester City, who win the League Cup every year. So it'll be a tough ask for him. But that's massive. I mean, I don't think we've ever seen a day like this. Firm European Super League uh, plans, and Jose Mourinho sacked. What a time to be alive! I have the week off work. I'm starting a new job next week, so I'm very, very, very happy that I'm off work so that I can devote my entire day to soaking up all of this beautiful information in regards to football. I mean, it's all bad, this news about the European Super League, but as football fans, we have to take it in. It's important, and wow, if it goes ahead, it's going to change the game forever, for the worse, in my opinion. Hopefully, it can be stopped. That will remain to be seen. Listen, I've been talking for 20 minutes or so now, so that's more than enough time. Don't forget, as always, to smash a like on the video, share the content around, and subscribe to the channel. And we'll be back as soon as we can. Maybe like I said, I'm off work this week. I'll try to be as active as possible on the channel. I might even put out a video a day, or every day, or every other day. Let's just see. Rafe is very busy at the moment with work, and I'm going to be very busy from next week. So we'll try to be as active as much as possible this week. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day. Bye.